Hey guys, tonight we're traveling back over 4,000 years to the burning sands of ancient Egypt. Not to the throne rooms or treasure chambers. Not to the grand ceremonial barges floating down the Nile. Tonight, we're going somewhere far more human. We're going to experience what it felt like to be a pyramid builder at the end of a crushing day under the desert sun. To feel the particular exhaustion that comes from hauling limestone blocks in 100-degree heat. To know the specific relief of finally lying down on a woven reed mat after your muscles have turned to water. Imagine it. You've spent 12 hours dragging stone, breathing dust, squinting against light that bounces off white limestone like 1,000 mirrors. Your hands are wrapped in strips of linen that are now more blood than cloth. Your back feels like it might crack in half. And all you've wanted since the sun reached its peak 6 hours ago, is to close your eyes. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, leave a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is there. Are you in Sydney watching the sunrise? In Toronto watching snow fall outside your window? I love knowing we're all scattered across this planet, but gathering here for the same quiet purpose. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You open your eyes in the workers' village at Giza. It's still dark, but that particular quality of darkness that knows dawn is coming. The kind where you can sense the world holding its breath. Around you in the small mud brick room, you hear the breathing of other workers. Your brother is somewhere to your left. Your cousin, the one who snores like a donkey, according to everyone, is mercifully quiet for once. The air is actually cool right now. In an hour, that will seem like a fever dream. But right now, before RA begins his journey across the sky, the desert knows how to be gentle. You can hear, faintly, the sound of the Nile in the distance. That eternal rushing whisper that never stops. Historians actually debate whether the workers' village was positioned specifically to catch the sound of the river. Some argue it was purely practical, close to water sources. Others suggest there was something psychological about it, about falling asleep to that constant reminder that Egypt's lifeline was near, that you weren't truly lost in the desert. You stretch on your mat and feel every single place your body touched stone yesterday. Your shoulder throbs where a rope dug in. Your palms sting even through the calluses that have built up over months. But you're alive. You're fed. You're part of something that will stand for thousands of years. Though right now, honestly, you'd trade a small piece of immortality for another hour of sleep. Outside, you hear the first sounds of the village waking. Someone's rooster, that arrogant bird that thinks he invented mornings, starts screaming his announcement. A baby cries. A woman's voice, soft and musical, begins humming a working song. The day is beginning whether you're ready or not. And the stones are waiting. They're always waiting. You pull yourself up from the mat, and your spine makes sounds that seem too old for your 23 years. Everything cracks. Everything protests. But everyone else is moving, so you move too. That's how it works here. The community pulls you forward even when your body wants to sink back into sleep. Your brother hands you a piece of bread, flat, dense, still slightly warm from yesterday's baking. You chew it while wrapping fresh linen around your hands. The old strips get tossed into a basket by the door. Someone's mother collects them, washes them, redistributes them. Nothing is wasted here. Not cloth, not food, not energy. Outside, the village is transforming from sleeping settlement to organized workforce. Thousands of men emerging from hundreds of small homes. Stretching, yawning, checking tools, adjusting sandals. The foremen are already moving through the rows, their voices carrying across the morning air. They're not yelling yet. That comes later when the heat makes everyone irritable. Right now, they're almost gentle. Fourth crew, west ramp today. Check your ropes. Stone haulers, report to the supply depot for assignments. Anyone injured yesterday, see the physicians before you even think about touching a block. You fall into line with your crew. 40 men who've worked together for 2 years now. You know their faces better than you know your own. You know who's strong in the morning and who needs an hour to warm up. You know who tells jokes to distract from the pain and who works in grim silence. You know who has children waiting at home and who sends all his rations back to a village 3 days south. The march begins. It's not quite a walk, not quite a procession. Something in between. Thousands of feet on packed earth, creating a sound like distant thunder. Someone starts a working song. One of those rhythmic chants that helps you forget you're walking toward 12 hours of suffering. Stone by stone, we build the house of heaven. Others join in. The song swells and multiplies. By the time you reach the base of the pyramid, half the workforce is singing in unison. It's actually kind of beautiful. In an exhausting, repetitive, this is your life now kind of way. Historians still argue whether these work songs were officially encouraged or organically developed. Some papyri suggest Foreman actually taught specific chants to improve rhythm and coordination. Others think the songs emerged naturally, the workers' way of claiming some small piece of control over their days. Either way, they help. They really do. The pyramid looms larger with every step. Even after 2 years, it still takes your breath away. The scale of it, the absolute audacity of what you're building. You're currently working on the outer casing, the smooth, white limestone that will eventually make the whole structure gleam like a beacon visible for miles. But right now, it's still a massive step structure, a mountain being born from human will and broken backs. You pass the supply depot where scribes are already at their stations. These men with their reed pens and papyrus scrolls, tracking every block, every worker, every tool. One of them, a young guy with ink stains permanently etched into his fingers, gives you a nod. You work together as children before his talent for letters pulled him into a different life. He sits in shade, making marks on paper. You haul stone until your hands bleed. But there's no resentment between you. Just different paths, different backs bearing different weights. Your foreman, a man named Amenhotep who has shoulders like a bull and surprisingly kind eyes, begins assigning positions. You, and you, rope team on the north ramp. You 6, wedge and lever crew on level 43. Water detail, rotate every 2 hours, no exceptions. I don't care how strong you think you are. This is the actual secret of pyramid building you've learned. Not alien technology or lost ancient wisdom. Just incredibly detailed organization. Someone figured out how to coordinate thousands of humans toward a single purpose. How to keep them fed, watered, and alive long enough to finish the job. It's less miraculous and somehow more impressive. The sun is fully up now. The cool mercy of dawn is already a memory. RA has begun his journey, and you've begun yours. Stone by stone, hour by hour, until evening releases you. The sun climbs higher and the world begins to shimmer. By the 3rd hour of work, the limestone blocks are already too hot to touch with bare skin. You learn this the first week, or you don't survive to see a second. Everything gets wrapped, hands, sometimes foreheads, occasionally feet if your sandals are worn through. The heat radiates up from the ground and down from the sky. You're being cooked from both directions. There's a particular kind of exhaustion that comes from working in this heat. It's not like the tiredness after a long day of normal labor. This is something that reaches into your bones and melts them. Your thoughts become slow and syrupy. Time does strange things. An hour can feel like 3, or 3 can pass in what seems like moments. But the foremen know this. They've been doing this long enough to see the signs. When men start stumbling, when the work songs falter and die, when someone's eyes lose focus and they stare at nothing, that's when the rotation system kicks in. East ramp crew, shade rotation, move. This might be the most brilliant thing about the whole operation. Someone, sometime, figured out that you can't work humans like oxen straight through blazing heat. Well, you can, but they die. And dead workers don't build pyramids. So the system emerged. Work for a span, rotate to shade, drink water, recover. Then back to the sun. The shade zones are positioned around the pyramid site, like stations of mercy. Palm frond canopies stretched over wooden frames. Canvas sailcloth from boats, repurposed as awnings. Even a natural shadow cast by the pyramid itself becomes valuable real estate. You stagger into the shade assigned to your crew, and the relief is almost painful. Like your body suddenly remembers it's allowed to not suffer. You collapse onto the ground, just packed earth, nothing comfortable, but feels like a pharaoh's bed. The crew around you does the same. 40 men dropping like stones. Some lie flat on their backs, eyes closed. Others sit hunched forward, heads between their knees. One man, old Kamwasit, who claims he helped build 2 other pyramids before this one, actually falls asleep immediately. Just gone, snoring in 30 seconds. Everyone's jealous of this ability. A water carrier appears. A boy, maybe 14, carrying a clay amphora that's nearly as big as his torso. He moves down the line of workers, pouring water into wooden bowls that get passed from hand to hand. The first sip is always a shock. Lukewarm, slightly earthy, tasting of clay and Nile minerals. But it's life itself flowing down your throat. You drink slowly, like the foreman taught you. Gulp it too fast, and you'll just vomit it back up. Waste precious water, and make yourself more miserable. Sip and breathe. Sip and breathe. Let your body remember how to be human again. Historians actually have records of the water logistics. Papyri documenting how many carriers were assigned to each pyramid face. How often they made the trek from the Nile. The size and number of vessels needed to keep thousands of men hydrated. It's almost obsessive, this documentation. But that obsessiveness is probably why the pyramids got built at all. Someone counted every detail. Someone planned for the fact that humans need water or they die. Revolutionary thinking, apparently. Around you, the crew starts to revive. Conversation returns in small bursts. My daughter said her first word yesterday. What word? No. Of course it was no. Laughter ripples through the group. Quiet, exhausted laughter, but real. Someone else. Anyone else see that crocodile near the bathing spot yesterday? Big one. The gods are testing us. Not enough that we haul stone. Now we can't even bathe safely. Just don't bathe. Problem solved. Your wife would divorce you. She's already threatening to. More laughter. These moments are what make it bearable, you realize. Not the pay, though the rations are good. Not the honor, though there's something to being part of this. It's these stupid conversations in the shade. These reminders that you're not alone in this suffering. That everyone here is being broken down and somehow holding together. The foreman's voice cuts through. 5 more minutes, then back to position. Groans echo around you. But everyone knows 5 minutes is generous. Some sites give you 3. Some give you nothing at all. Just work until you drop. Here, they try to keep you alive. It's practical, not kindness. Dead workers cost money to replace. But you'll take practical mercy over none at all. You close your eyes for those last 5 minutes. Feel the shade on your skin. Hear the breath of men around you. Store up this moment of not suffering to carry you through the next rotation in the sun. Because the sun isn't done with you. It's barely started. There are 8 more hours until the evening bell. 8 more hours until rest becomes possible. You breathe. You drink the last sip of lukewarm water. You stand when the foreman calls. And you walk back into the light. Back at your row position, you grip the thick braided flax and feel it bite into your wrapped palms. Even through the linen, even through the calluses, you feel it. This rope will be part of your dreams tonight. It always is. The block you're hauling today weighs somewhere around 2.5 tons. You don't know the exact number because you're not a scribe, but you know in your muscles. You know it in the way 40 men have to coordinate perfectly just to make it move 6 inches. The foreman calls the rhythm, pull, hold. Everyone moves as one organism. 40 backs bending, 40 sets of legs driving into the sand, 40 voices grunting in unison. The block slides forward on its wooden sledge. 6 inches. Then again, another 6 inches. This is how pyramids get built. Not quickly, not easily. 6 inches at a time, repeated until the sun dies. But here's the thing that makes it survivable. The water carriers. They're everywhere. An army of boys and young men. Constantly moving through the work crews like blood circulating through a body. You've started to recognize individual carriers. There's the one with the crooked nose who always has a joke. The serious one who never speaks, but whose timing is perfect. He appears exactly when you need him. The kid who's clearly someone's nephew, getting special treatment, carrying a smaller vessel, and complaining constantly. They appear between pulls, offering ladles of water that you gulp while still gripping your rope. No time to stop completely. The work continues, but the water flows through it. Someone engineered this system with actual genius. The carriers have their own rotation, their own rest periods, their own supply chain. There are staging posts between here and the Nile, probably a quarter-mile away, where full amphoras get passed forward and empty ones go back. It's logistics on a scale that wouldn't be matched for thousands of years. Historians love to debate pyramid construction methods. Ramps, levers, counterweights, internal spirals. But the real mystery they should focus on is this. How did they keep everyone hydrated? How did they calculate that you'd need X number of carriers per Y number of workers in Z temperature? Someone did that math. Someone sat down with a papyrus and figured out the ratio of water bringers to stone haulers. And they got it right because you're not dead. None of you are dead. Exhausted, yes. Dreaming of shade and evening, absolutely. But alive. The crooked nose carrier appears at your elbow. Water, friend. You nod, not trusting your voice. He ladles cool liquid into your mouth while you maintain your grip on the rope. Heard your crew made good progress yesterday, he says cheerfully. 17 blocks up to level 43. Not bad. You want to ask how he knows this? How a water carrier tracks crew productivity. But he's already moving on, vessel hoisted against his hip, heading to the next worker. These boys are part messenger, part lifeline, part entertainment. They carry news along with water. Who got injured? Which foreman is in a good mood? Whether the fish were running in the Nile this morning, meaning fresh protein for dinner. They're the circulatory system and the nervous system all at once. You pull the rope. The block moves. 6 more inches closer to wherever it's supposed to go. Another carrier appears, the serious one. He doesn't speak, just offers the ladle. You drink. He moves on. Perfect timing like always. Your arms are shaking now. That specific tremor that comes from sustained exertion. Not dramatic shaking. Just a fine vibration that tells you your muscles are reaching their limit. But the limit keeps extending. Every day, you think you can't possibly pull another block. Every day, you pull another block. The human body is more stubborn than you'd expect. More capable of continuing past what seems like failure. Or maybe it's not the body at all. Maybe it's the crew around you. The fact that everyone else is still pulling, so you pull too. The communal refusal to quit becomes stronger than individual exhaustion. Someone in the line behind you starts singing, just a fragment of a working song. The stone remembers the hands that moved it. Others pick it up. Not everyone, not in full voice, just enough to create a rhythm again. To remind you that you're part of something larger than your own suffering. Another carrier appears. This one is new. You don't recognize him. Young, maybe 13, struggling with an amphora that's clearly too heavy. He's sloshing water everywhere, wasting it. A foreman notices. Careful, boy. Every drop counts. The kid flushes red, tries to steady the vessel. You catch his eye and give him a tiny nod. We all started somewhere. We all spilled water at first. He sees the message, straightens up a bit, continues his rounds more carefully. The sun continues its arc. The water continues flowing. The blocks continue moving. 6 inches. Then 6 more. Then 6 more. This is the rhythm of empire. This is how immortality gets built. One exhausted pull at a time, sustained by boys carrying water. The bell rings at midday. Not an actual bell, more like a gong, deep and resonant, carrying across the entire construction site. The sound of temporary salvation. You release the rope and your hands immediately curl into claws. They don't want to straighten. The muscles have locked into pulling position, convinced this is their permanent shape now. You have to manually uncurl each finger, grimacing as tendons protest. Around you, 40 men do the same strange hand dance, opening and closing fists, shaking out arms, rotating shoulders that have turned to stone. The transformation from work mode to rest mode takes longer every day, like your body is forgetting it's allowed to stop. The food distribution area is organized chaos. Hundreds of workers converging from different sections of the pyramid, forming loose queues. The ones who've been here longest know the tricks. Which line moves fastest? Which distribution scribe is generous with portions? Which spot has the best shade while you eat? You follow your crew to the Western Food Station, where a scribe named Tahotep oversees distribution. He's fair, this one. Never plays favorites, never shorts anyone. His assistant, a broad-shouldered woman named Merritt, who could probably haul stone herself if they let her, begins handing out rations. First, the bread. These aren't delicate palace loaves. This is working bread, dense and heavy, made from emmer wheat with enough substance to fuel exhausted muscles. Each loaf is about the size of your fist, crusty on the outside, chewy within. You can eat one and feel it hit your stomach like ballast, anchoring you back to something solid. Merritt hands you 2 loaves. You immediately bite into one, and the taste is, well, it's bread. Not amazing, not terrible, just fuel. But your body treats it like a feast, every cell screaming yes, finally food. Next comes the beer. Now, this isn't the beer you might be imagining. Ancient Egyptian beer is thick, nutritious, almost soupy. It's made from partially baked bread, dissolved in water and fermented. The result is more like liquid bread than what modern people would recognize as beer. Low alcohol content, just enough to make the Nile water safer to drink, but high in calories and vitamins. Merritt pours it into wooden bowls from a large clay vessel, and you receive yours with both hands. The first sip is always startling. Sweet and sour at once, grainy texture, slightly yeasty. But it's cold, or at least cooler than the air, and it's wet, and your body doesn't care about taste. Your body cares about survival. You drain half the bowl in one long pull. Then comes the addition that makes everything better. Onions. Raw onions, pungent and sharp, distributed by the handful. Historians actually have extensive records about onion consumption at pyramid sites. Apparently, someone calculated that onions prevented certain illnesses in workers. They were right, though they didn't know why. We know now about vitamin C, about compounds that fight infection. They just knew, feed them onions, fewer workers get sick. So onions became standard rations. You bite into one, and the sharp flavor explodes in your mouth, cutting through the blandness of bread and beer. Your eyes water slightly. Perfect. Some workers hate the onions, trade them away for extra bread. Not you. You've learned to crave that sharp bite, that clearing sensation in your sinuses. Plus, there's something psychologically satisfying about eating something with flavor. With bite. Something that reminds you that you can still taste, still feel sensations beyond exhaustion and heat. Around you, the crew settles into eating. Not much talking at first. Everyone's too focused on getting food into their bodies. But gradually, conversation returns. Anyone else's back feel like it's broken in 3 places? Only 3? Lucky you. Someone laughs, nearly chokes on beer. Old Kamwasit, the one who falls asleep instantly, is already drowsy again, chewing his bread with eyes half closed. The man could sleep through a sandstorm, through a crocodile attack, through anything. It's a genuine gift. Your cousin, the snorer, is examining his hands critically. I think I'm losing a fingernail. Which one? Left thumb. It's turning black. Happens. It'll fall off in a week. New one grows back. This is standard conversation here. Casual discussion of minor bodily destruction. Which blisters are infected? Whose shoulder makes a clicking sound now? The creative colors of bruises. You're all slowly falling apart and putting yourselves back together day after day. Merritt appears at your elbow with a basket of dates. Extra rations today, she announces. Overseer sent them down. Good progress this week. The crew perks up immediately. Dates are luxury. Sweet, energy-dense, delicious. You take 3, pop one immediately into your mouth, and the burst of sugar is almost overwhelming. Your body, accustomed to bland fuel, doesn't know what to do with actual pleasure. You close your eyes and let the sweetness dissolve on your tongue. For just this moment, you're not a laborer being ground down by stone and sun. You're a human being experiencing something good. The moment passes as moments do, but you tuck it away carefully in memory. These small pleasures, they're what you'll remember tonight when you're too tired to sleep. The sweetness of dates, the coolness of beer, the sharp bite of onion, small things that remind you you're alive. The afternoon brings a different kind of suffering. Morning exhaustion at least has the mercy of newness. Your body is still discovering which parts will hurt today, but afternoon exhaustion is familiar. Every pain from this morning is still there, now joined by a dozen new friends. And you absolutely know that there are still hours to go. That's the psychological weight that's almost worse than the physical. The knowledge that you're already broken and there's more breaking ahead. You return to your row position, and someone has already collapsed. Not from your crew, a hauler from the eastern ramp. He's just lying there on his side, eyes open but unfocused, breathing in shallow gasps. Two men are trying to get him to his feet. He's not responding. A foreman spots the situation and whistles sharply. Within moments, two workers appear with a simple stretcher, just canvas between two poles. They load the collapsed man efficiently, no wasted movement, and carry him toward the medical tent. You've seen this happen dozens of times. Sometimes men recover after water and shade. Sometimes they don't come back. The heat claims its share. You don't know this man's name. He might be from your village, might be from a settlement 3 days north. Thousands of workers here, impossible to know everyone. But you feel it anyway, that small drop of fear in your stomach. Could be you on that stretcher. Could be anyone. The foreman doesn't give you long to think about it. Back to position. Block won't move itself. You grip your rope. The crew grips theirs. Pull, hold, pull, hold. 6 inches at a time, the empire grows. But now you're aware of the medical tent. It's positioned at the base of the pyramid, on the northeastern side, where morning shade lingers longest. A large structure by construction site standards, canvas walls, palm frond roof, actually spacious. Inside, the physician priests work their careful magic. These men are part doctor, part priest, part practical engineer. They've studied at temples, learned from scrolls that are centuries old, absorbed knowledge passed down through generations. They know anatomy from preparing mummies. They know herbs from temple gardens. They know which injuries will heal and which ones won't. You've been to the medical tent twice. Once for a gash across your forearm that wouldn't stop bleeding. The priest-physician, a man named Scorching with gentle hands and sharp eyes, examined it carefully. Asked how it happened, how long ago, whether you felt hot or cold. Then he cleaned it with beer. The alcohol helped, though no one knew why, and applied honey directly to the wound. Thick, golden honey, smoothed over torn flesh. Honey prevents rot, he explained while working. We don't know why. The god's gift, perhaps. But wounds dressed with honey heal clean. He was right. Modern scientists would eventually discover honey's antibacterial properties, its ability to maintain moisture while preventing infection. But Scorching didn't need to understand the mechanism. He just needed to know it worked. He wrapped your arm in clean linen, told you to keep it dry, sent you back to work the next day. The wound healed perfectly, not even much of a scar. Your second visit was for a back spasm, so severe you couldn't straighten up, stuck bent at the waist like a broken tool. Scorching had you lie face down on a reed mat while he probed your spine with expert fingers. Here, he said, pressing a spot that made you gasp. And here, muscle seized, common in haulers. He produced a piece of willow bark. Chew this, slowly. Let the juice coat your mouth before swallowing. You obeyed, and the taste was bitter enough to make you want to spit. But you chewed. Let the bitter juice work its way through your system. Within an hour, the spasm had eased. Not gone entirely, but manageable. You could stand upright again. Return to work. Historians still debate how much the ancient Egyptians understood about willow bark's properties. It contains salicin, which the body converts to salicylic acid, the active ingredient in aspirin. Did they know this chemically? No. Did they know it worked? Absolutely. Seacombe and his fellow physicians kept workers functional through observation, tradition, and careful trial. Not all their treatments worked. Some were pure superstition, amulets, and incantations. But enough of them were effective that the medical tent was genuinely valuable. More than that, it was comforting, knowing that if you broke down, someone would try to fix you, that you weren't just disposable. Inside that tent right now, they're probably treating the collapsed hauler, pouring water down his throat if he can swallow, cooling his head with damp cloths, checking his pulse, his breathing, the color of his skin, debating whether it's heat exhaustion or something worse, whether he'll work tomorrow or be sent home to his village, whether he'll survive at all. The physicians argue among themselves sometimes. You can hear them when you pass the tent. The pulse suggests excess heat in the blood. No, it's clearly a spiritual imbalance. The ka is disturbed. Practical treatment first, theological debate later. They're trying to understand the human body with the tools they have, mixing empirical observation with religious framework, getting surprisingly far with that combination. Your rope bites into your palms. You pull. The block moves. Somewhere behind you, someone's breathing is turned ragged. A foreman notices, calls for water. A carrier appears immediately. The system keeps functioning. Workers break, get patched up, return to work, or get replaced. The pyramid doesn't care. It just grows, layer by layer, sustained by bodies and knowledge and honey bandages. You pull again. Your back twinges. That same spot Seacombe treated months ago. Not severe yet, just a warning. You adjust your stance slightly, redistributing the weight. Keep pulling. The medical tent is there if you need it. That knowledge is almost as healing as the treatment itself. The gong sounds again as shadows begin to stretch long across the desert. Not the full release, not yet. This is the warning bell, telling you there's 1 hour left. 1 more hour of pulling, lifting, positioning. 1 more hour between you and rest. Somehow this last hour is always the hardest. When you can see the end approaching but can't quite reach it yet. Your body starts negotiating with you. To stop now, it suggests, you've done enough. Lie down right here in the sand. What's 1 more hour of work really worth? Everything, you answer yourself. Everything is worth 1 more hour because stopping early isn't an option. Not unless you're being carried to the medical tent. The crew around you is struggling too. You can see it in how the work songs have died completely. How no one's making jokes anymore. How each pull on the rope takes longer to organize, like you're all moving through honey. But the foremen know this hour. They've done this themselves. Most of them came up from the ranks, spent years hauling stone before earning their positions. They remember what this feels like. So they're gentler now than they were at midday. Less shouting, more encouragement. 1 more block, brothers. Just 1 more to finish the day. Think about that evening meal waiting. Your children want to see you walk through the door tonight. It helps. Not much, but enough. You pull. The block moves. The sun continues its descent toward the western horizon, turning from white-hot to golden to almost orange. The color change marks time better than any water clock. When the sun touches the distant line where sand meets sky, you know the final gong is coming. You count your breaths now. An out pull. An out pull. Breaking time down into the smallest possible units so it passes faster. Don't think about the hour. Think about the breath. Just this breath. Now this one. Now this one. Your hands have gone numb, which is actually a mercy. When you can't feel them anymore, the pain stops matching. You become a pulling machine, nothing more. Muscle and breath and the rope that connects you to the block. Somewhere to your left, someone stumbles, catches himself, returns to position, keeps pulling. The crew absorbs the stumble without comment. We all stumble in the last hour. The final gong rings out across the site, deep and resonant, and the most beautiful sound in the world. You release the rope and nearly fall backward. Your body, so prepared to pull, doesn't know what to do when pulling stops. You have to stand there for a moment, swaying slightly, remembering how to exist without resistance. Around you, thousands of men are doing the same strange dance, releasing tools, stepping back from blocks, standing in slight confusion. like someone has turned off the sun and you're all waiting for your eyes to adjust. The foremen begin their evening count, making sure everyone who started the day is accounted for, making sure no one's collapsed somewhere behind a limestone block. Line up by crew. Sound off. Your foreman, Amenhotep with the kind eyes, walks down your line, counting heads. 40, he announces, satisfied. Good work today. West Ram crew made goal. You'll be commended. A small swell of pride moves through the group. It's silly, maybe. Pride in having successfully destroyed your body for 12 hours. But you feel it anyway. You did what you came to do. The block you pulled today will sit in the pyramid for thousands of years. Long after your name is forgotten, that stone will remember your hands. The walk back to the workers' village is nothing like the morning march. No organization now, no work songs. Just thousands of exhausted men shuffling in loose clumps toward home. Some walk in silence, too tired to speak. Others talk in low voices about ordinary things, what their wives might have cooked, whether the children have grown since yesterday. Small domestic thoughts that have nothing to do with pyramids or pharaohs. The weight of the work begins to lift with each step away from the site. You're still exhausted, more exhausted than this morning somehow. But it's a different exhaustion now. Finished exhaustion. The kind where you know you don't have to do anything else until tomorrow. You can just collapse and let time pass until your body recovers enough to do it all again. The sun is setting properly now, painting the sky in colors you're too tired to properly appreciate. Orange and pink and purple and gold. The desert transforms in evening light. Becomes almost beautiful. Though maybe you're just grateful the sun is finally leaving. Going somewhere else to torment someone else. Giving you darkness and coolness and the possibility of sleep. Your brother walks beside you, limping slightly. He doesn't mention it, and you don't ask. Everyone's limping by the end of the day. Everyone has their specific collection of pains. Your cousin, the snorer, is already talking about food. If there's fish tonight, I'm eating my weight in it. You'll make yourself sick. Worth it. Old Kamwasit is somehow alert now, his evening energy kicking in. Some people are like that, dead all day, alive at dusk. He's telling a story about a pyramid he worked on 20 years ago. Taller than this one, steeper angle. We lost 6 men in one day when a ramp collapsed. You're not sure if his stories are true or elaborated over decades. Doesn't matter. They pass the time. They connect you to something larger than today's suffering. The village appears ahead, torches already lit in courtyards. Smoke rising from evening fires. The smell of cooking food reaching you on the breeze. Your body responds to these signals like a dog recognizing home. Your pace quickens slightly despite the exhaustion. Just a little further. Just a few hundred more steps. Then water. Then food. Then finally, blessedly, sleep. The workers' village fountain is already crowded when you arrive. A long stone basin fed by a channel from the Nile, constantly flowing, constantly replenishing. Men are lined up 3 deep, waiting their turn. Some are already washing, bent over the basin, scrubbing limestone dust from their skin with handfuls of water. The water runs gray and white with it. Layer after layer of fine powder that's worked its way into every crevice of your body. Your hair is stiff with it. Your ears are packed with it. When you spit, it's white. You join the line and wait. Nobody rushes at the fountain. There's an unspoken understanding that everyone needs this. Everyone gets their time. Besides, after 12 hours of labor, what's another 10 minutes? While you wait, you watch the ritual play out. Men approaching the water with their bodies still locked in work posture. Shoulders hunched, backs curved, hands still shaped like they're gripping tools. Then the water touches them and something shifts. You can actually see it happen. The way tension starts to drain away. How shoulders gradually lower. How faces relax from their grimaces into something softer. Water as transformation. Children run around the fountain's edges, playing some game that involves throwing pebbles and shouting. They're carefully avoiding the workers, darting in and out with perfect timing. These kids have grown up around exhausted men. They know when to stay clear and when it's safe to approach. A girl, maybe 7 years old, runs up to a worker who's just finished washing. "Papa, Papa, did you move big stones today? The man, still dripping, scoops her up despite his obvious exhaustion. The biggest stones in the world, little fish. Bigger than our house. Bigger than 10 houses. Bigger than the moon? Almost as big as the moon. She giggles, satisfied with this answer, and he sets her down. She runs off to tell her friend about her father, who moves moon-sized stones. The line shifts forward. You're closer now. You can smell the water, feel the slight coolness in the air around it. Your body is already responding, leaning toward it like a plant towards sun. Finally, your turn. You bend over the basin and plunge your hands in first. The water is cool. Not cold, but so much cooler than your skin that it feels shocking. You cup your palms and bring water to your face. The first splash makes you gasp. All day, your face has been baked dry, coated in dust, and sweat mixed into a paste. Now the water cuts through it, runs down your neck, drips from your chin. You scrub with your fingers, working the grime loose. The water in front of you turns cloudy. You move to a cleaner section of the basin and continue. Historians actually have records of these washing facilities. Papyri describing the construction of fountains, the maintenance of water channels, the importance of cleanliness for worker health. Someone understood that men covered in limestone dust all day needed to wash it off. That breathing that dust, sleeping with it in your nose and throat, would lead to sickness. The lung disease that killed older workers wasn't a mystery. They could see the connection between dust and breathing problems. So they built fountains and made washing mandatory before entering your home. Practical care disguised as religious purity. Or maybe religious purity was always practical care in disguise. You dunk your entire head underwater. Hold it there for a moment, feeling the coolness envelope your skull. When you come up, gasping, the world sounds different. Clearer, like you've been hearing through cotton all day, and suddenly it's gone. You scrub at your scalp, feeling the dust loosen and float away. Your hair transforms from stiff bristles back to something that might actually be hair. You work down your body methodically. Arms, underarms, chest, back as far as you can reach. The linen loincloth you're wearing gets a scrubbing too. It's the only clothing most workers have. Wash it while wearing it. Let it dry in the evening air. By morning, it'll be ready to get destroyed all over again. The water feels so good it's almost painful, like your nerve endings are waking up after being numbed all day. Every sensation is heightened. The coolness, the wetness, the simple act of touching your own skin without limestone between. You stay at the basin as long as you reasonably can, not hogging it but not rushing either, taking your fair share of this small mercy. When you finally step back, you feel pounds lighter, not just from the removed dust, from something psychological too, like you've washed away part of the day's suffering along with the dirt. Your brother takes your place at the basin. You watch him go through the same transformation, bent and gray when he arrives, straighter and more human when he's done. Around the fountain, dozens of conversations are happening in low voices. Men catching up with neighbors, checking on friends, sharing news. Heard they're opening a new quarry next month. My wife's pregnant again. 4th child. Anyone know if the fish were running today? This is community in its simplest form. Tired men washing together, talking about nothing important, reminding each other that they're more than just stone haulers. They're fathers, husbands, neighbors, humans. The sun is almost gone now. Just a sliver of orange on the horizon. The torches around the village are burning brighter as darkness settles. You're clean, or at least cleaner. You're cooler. You're ready for the next part of evening. The part where you finally get to sit down. Get to eat something more substantial than midday rations. Get to exist as something other than a tool for moving stone. You head toward home, leaving wet footprints in the dust. By tomorrow morning, you'll be dirty again. But for now, for these evening hours, you're clean. And that matters more than you'd think. The smell of cooking fires guides you home. Onions sizzling in hot oil, fish being grilled over open flames, bread warming on stones. Your stomach, which has been too exhausted to properly complain all day, suddenly wakes up and remembers it's empty. The midday rations feel like they happened a week ago, Your home is a small mud brick structure, 2 rooms plus a small courtyard where your family does most of their living. Your wife, Nefret, is at the clay oven, tending to something that smells incredible. She looks up when you approach, and her face does something complicated. Relief that you're home. Concern at how exhausted you look. A flash of irritation. Probably it's something one of the children did today. And underneath it all, love. The kind that survives years of watching your husband destroy himself, building monuments for the gods. You look terrible, she says, which is her way of saying she's glad you're alive. I feel worse, you reply, which is your way of saying you love her too. Your daughter, the 5-year-old who never stops moving, crashes into your legs before you can even sit down. Papa, I caught a frog today. A huge one. He was this big. She spreads her arms impossibly wide. That's very big for a frog. The biggest frog in Egypt. I believe you. She's already running off to demonstrate something to her brother, the 2-year-old who mostly just follows her around in confused worship. Your oldest son, 10 years old, nearly old enough to join the work crews himself, is helping his mother with dinner. He's trying to be useful, try to prove he's ready. The thought of him hauling stone makes something in your chest hurt. But that's the life you have. That's what sons do, follow their fathers into labor. Unless they show talent for something else like scribing or carpentry or pottery. You're secretly hoping he's terrible at hauling stone, that the foreman will see him struggle and redirect him to something that won't break his back by 30. But you can't say this out loud. Can't admit you want better for him than you have. That feels like betraying the work, betraying the crew, betraying something fundamental. So you just watch him help his mother and say nothing. Nefret hands you a wooden bowl filled with lentil stew. Thick, fragrant, with chunks of vegetables and, gods be praised, actual fish. Small pieces of Nile perch, their flesh white and flaky. The fisherman had a good day, she explains. I traded some of your bread rations for extra fish. You want to protest. Those rations are carefully calculated. You need them. But the smell of the fish overrides any objection. You eat directly from the bowl. No utensils, scooping with your fingers and pieces of flatbread. The food is so good you almost want to cry. After 12 hours of punishment, your body treats every bite like a miracle. The lentils are soft and earthy. The fish is rich with oil. The bread soaks up the stew and becomes something transcendent. You eat slowly, savoring it, while your family settles around you in the courtyard. Your wife with her own bowl, the children sharing one between the 3 of them, everyone eating in comfortable silence. This is the center of everything, you realize. Not the pyramid, not the pharaoh's immortality. This courtyard, this food, these people. This is what you're actually working for. The pyramid is just what you do to enable this. Historians love to wonder about the motivation of pyramid builders. Were they slaves, forced into labor? Were they devout worshippers, ecstatic to serve the divine king? The truth is simpler and more boring. You work because you need to eat, because your family needs a home, because the alternative to hauling stone is starving in some village with no irrigation, no organization, no support. The Pyramid Project offers steady work, regular rations, medical care, community. It's a good deal, relatively speaking, even if it's destroying your body one day at a time. Your daughter is telling a long, complicated story about the frog. Apparently, it escaped, and she found it again. Then her brother sat on it by accident, though he denies this. Then it escaped again. The whole saga is told with immense seriousness. Your wife catches your eye and smiles. These moments of pure, ordinary life, they're the actual treasure. Not gold, not monuments. Just your daughter's frog story and the way your youngest is falling asleep in his bowl. After dinner, you move to the roof. Most families do this in the evening. Climb up to the flat roof where it's cooler, where you can catch any breeze. You lie on your back on a woven mat, looking up at stars that are beginning to appear in the deepening blue. Nefret sits beside you, legs folded, working on some weaving project in the fading light. The children are already asleep somewhere below, exhausted from their own day of play and frog hunting. They're talking about expanding the eastern quarry, you say quietly. That means more work, maybe better rations. It means you'll be even more exhausted. I'm already as exhausted as possible. Can't get more exhausted than everything. You always say that. Then you come home more tired than the day before. She's right, of course. But you don't have a response, so you just look at the stars. The same stars that hang over the pyramid site. The same stars that will hang over the finished pyramid long after you're gone. For now, though, they're just beautiful. Just points of light in a darkening sky. Just something peaceful to rest your eyes on while your body slowly remembers it's allowed to stop working. Your wife's hand finds yours in the darkness. Her fingers interlace with your rope-burned ones. She doesn't say anything. Doesn't need to. This is enough. This quiet moment on a roof, holding hands, listening to the village settle into evening sounds. Dogs barking in the distance. Someone singing a soft song. A baby crying, then being soothed. The ordinary symphony of human life continuing despite everything. You close your eyes and just breathe. This is rest. Not sleep yet. That comes later. But rest in its truest form. The knowledge that you've made it through another day. That you're home, fed, clean, safe. That tomorrow will come with its own demands, but tonight is yours. Just yours and your family's. Just this roof and these stars and this hand in yours. It's enough. For now, it's more than enough. Eventually, you have to go downstairs. The roof is beautiful, peaceful, perfect for postponing reality. But your body is making demands that can't be ignored any longer. Every muscle is screaming for horizontal rest. Your back feels like someone replaced your spine with broken pottery. Your legs are threatening to simply stop working if you don't lie down soon. You descend the wooden ladder carefully, one rung at a time. Even this simple movement requires thought now. Which foot goes where? How to grip without your hands cramping. Your body has become a collection of parts that barely cooperate. The sleeping room is small and dim. A single oil lamp flickers in the corner, casting dancing shadows on the mud brick walls. Your children are already asleep on their shared mat. The 2-year-old sprawled like he was dropped from a height. The 5-year-old curled into a tight ball. The 10-year-old on his side, already sleeping in the same position you do, the position that minimizes back pain. He's learning your suffering before he even begins it. Your own mat is in the corner. Simple woven reeds, nothing fancy, but it might as well be a pharaoh's bed right now. You lower yourself down with a groan you can't suppress. The sound of a much older man emerging from your 23-year-old body. First you sit, then you rotate, then you extend your legs. Each movement is a separate project, carefully executed. Finally, you're horizontal, and the relief is so intense, it's almost spiritual. Like your body is saying, thank you. Finally, this is what we needed all along. The mat beneath you feels perfect, not soft. There's no padding, just reeds over hard earth. But perfect because it's not vertical. Because gravity is finally working with you instead of against you. Your muscles begin to unlock one by one. Shoulders releasing, hips settling. Even your jaw unclenches. You didn't realize you've been clenching it all day. Everything begins to melt into the mat. Nefert appears in the doorway, silhouetted by the courtyard fire behind her. She moves quietly through the room, checking on the children, adjusting a blanket. Then she settles onto the mat beside you. The heat of the day is finally dissipating. The mud brick walls, which spent all day absorbing sun, are now slowly releasing it. The room is warm, but not stifling. Actually comfortable in that way that only happens in the brief window between sunset and deep night. Your hands are shaking, Nefert observes quietly. You look down and realize she's right. A fine tremor running through your fingers. Happens sometimes. Goes away after I sleep. It's happening more often. She's not accusing, just noting. But the observation sits heavy in the small room. Your body is breaking down faster than it's repairing. Everyone knows this happens to stone haulers. You have maybe 10 good years if you're lucky. Then your back goes completely, or your hands stop working, or your lungs fill with limestone dust that never comes out. Then you become one of the older men who sit in the village square, doing light work, telling stories, waiting to die. It's not a comforting thought, but it's the reality of the life you've chosen, or rather, the life that was available to you. The pyramid will be finished in a few years, you say, though you don't know if this is true. Then maybe they'll need workers for other projects. Less heavy labor. Maybe. She doesn't sound convinced. Neither are you, really. But hope is cheap, so you spend it freely. Your daughter makes a small sound in her sleep. Not waking, just dreaming something that requires a little mumble. The oil lamp flickers, creating new shadow patterns on the wall. You watch them dance while your body continues its slow process of remembering how to not hurt. This is the paradox of exhaustion this complete. You're desperately tired, but sleep doesn't come immediately. Your body is too activated, too full of the day's stress. It needs time to wind down, to process, to accept that the demands have finally stopped. So you lie there in the warm darkness, listening to breathing. Your children's soft rhythm. Nefret's deeper pattern beside you. The distant sounds of the village settling. Somewhere nearby, someone is coughing. That deep, wet cough that means limestone lung. Someone else is singing a lullaby to a child who won't sleep. A dog barks 3 times, then stops. Life continuing in small sounds through thin walls. Your thoughts begin to drift, losing their structure. The rope in your hands. The weight of the block. The way the sun felt on your neck. The taste of the fish at dinner. Your daughter's frog story. The stars on the roof. Everything mixing together, losing its sharp edges. Historians still argue about what the pyramid builders thought about their work, whether they felt pride or resentment, whether they believed in the divine purpose or just went through the motions for their rations. But lying here in the darkness, you know the truth is simpler than they imagine. You don't think about the pyramid at all when you're home. You think about your aching hands, about whether your son will have a better life, about the way your wife's breath sounds in the darkness, about sleep and how badly you need it. The pyramid exists in a completely different world from this room. That's daytime world, with its demands and its purpose and its massive permanence. This is nighttime world, small and warm and temporary and entirely yours. And nighttime world is the one that matters. Because morning will come too soon. The rooster will scream his announcement. The village will wake. The march to the pyramid will begin again. But that's tomorrow's problem. Tonight, you're horizontal. Tonight, your family breathes around you. Tonight, your body slowly releases its grip on suffering. Tonight, you can rest. And rest, simple, horizontal, breathing rest, is everything. Your eyes grow heavy. The tremor in your hands gradually stills. The sounds around you become distant, filtered through layers of approaching sleep. Your last conscious thought is gratitude. Not for the pyramid or the pharaoh or divine purpose. Just gratitude for this mat, this room, this moment of not suffering. For the fact that you survived another day. And for the mercy of sleep, finally arriving to carry you away from everything. Sleep, when it finally comes, is deep and dreamless. The kind of sleep that feels less like rest and more like your body shutting down to perform emergency repairs. Your consciousness simply stops. No dreams about ropes or stones or sun. No nightmares about falling blocks or collapsed ramps. Just darkness, complete and total. Your body doing its desperate work of knitting muscle fibers back together, of processing the day's micro-traumas, of preparing itself to do the whole thing again tomorrow. But then something shifts in the village. Not quite dawn yet. The sky is still that deep blue that comes before the first hint of gray. But the world is waking anyway. First the animals know. The roosters, of course, with their biological certainty that they need to announce the upcoming sun. One starts, then another, then a whole chorus of them screaming their territorial claims across the village. Dogs begin to stir, shaking themselves, padding around courtyards. A donkey somewhere brays, long and mournful. Then the human sounds begin. Someone coughing, that same deep, wet cough from last night. A baby starting to fuss. A woman's voice, soft and musical, beginning her morning routine with a working song. The sun returns, the work continues, the bread will rise, The beer will ferment, not sung loudly, just hummed under a breath. But sound carries into pre-dawn quiet. You can hear it through the walls, this gentle announcement that the night is ending. You don't want to wake up. Your body is very clear about this. Every part of you is voting for staying horizontal, for pretending dawn isn't coming. Your back especially is lodging a formal protest. The night's rest has helped, but you're still fundamentally broken from yesterday. Starting over today feels impossible. But your brother is already moving in the darkness. You hear him grunt as he sits up, hear his joints crack like dry wood. He's 2 years older than you, and it shows in his morning sounds. More creaking, more groaning, longer to get started. Can't believe it's already morning, he mutters. Feels like I just closed my eyes. Same. My back feels worse than yesterday. Mine too. This is your morning conversation, every morning. Comparing damages, noting new pains, acknowledging the unfairness of time moving forward. Outside, the village is waking in waves. You could track it by sound. First, the very early risers, the ones who pride themselves on being ready before everyone else. You hear them moving around, starting fires, fetching water. Then the main population, workers like you, dragging themselves vertical through sheer force of routine. Doors opening, footsteps on packed earth, low voices greeting neighbors. Finally, the stragglers, the ones who will rush, who'll skip washing, who'll arrive at the pyramid site slightly late and get marked down by the scribes. You try to be middle group, not overeager, but not irresponsible either. Nefret is already up, you realize. You can hear her in the courtyard, coaxing the fire back to life, preparing something quick for breakfast. She moves quietly, try not to wake the children yet. They can sleep a bit longer while you get ready. You force yourself to sit up. This is always the worst moment of the day. The transition from horizontal to vertical. Gravity becomes your enemy again. Every muscle protests the change. Your spine makes sounds that seem medically concerning. You sit on the edge of the mat for a moment, head in hands, breathing. Just breathing and convincing your body that standing is possible. Old Kame Wasset, your neighbor who somehow never seems tired, is already outside singing. Actually singing, full voice, some working song about Ra's journey across the sky. You simultaneously admire and hate his morning energy. Your cousin appears at the door, looking as wrecked as you feel. I had a dream I was old and rich and could pay people to haul stones for me. Nice dream. Then I woke up here, back to reality. Reality is terrible. I want a refund. Despite everything, you smile. This is survival humor. The kind of jokes that only make sense when you're all suffering together. You stand. This requires a hand on the wall for support, but you make it vertical. Your legs remember how to be legs. Your back settles into its daytime configuration of manageable pain. You're functional, if not good. Nefert appears with flatbread and dates. Quick breakfast, eaten standing. You chew mechanically, your body accepting fuel without enthusiasm. Everything tastes like morning, which is to say like duty and resignation. The children are stirring now. Your daughter's voice, still thick with sleep. Is it morning already? Unfortunately, you reply. I don't like morning. Nobody does, little fish. Nobody does. You wrap fresh linen around your hands. The old strips from yesterday are stiff with dried blood and limestone dust. Nefert has washed some and left them to dry, but you'll need to use them anyway. Never enough clean linen, so you rotate through various states of dirty. Your brother is at the door, ready to go. Time to embrace another beautiful day of destroying ourselves. Can't wait. I'm serious, I can't wait. If we're late, they dock rations. He's right, so you move. Kiss your wife quickly. She tastes like sleep and smoke. Touch your children's heads as you pass. Small blessings, small acknowledgments that you might not see them again if something goes wrong today. You never say this out loud, but it's there in every morning goodbye. Outside, the sky is lightening to gray. Not sunrise yet, but close. The air is that perfect cool that will be gone in an hour. Right now, though, it's almost pleasant. Almost possible to believe the day won't be brutal. The village is moving as one organism now. Hundreds of men emerging from hundreds of small homes, all heading in the same direction. The great daily migration from sleep to stone. You join the flow, letting it carry you forward. Your body is awake now, even if it doesn't want to be. The rhythm is taking over, the rhythm that's stronger than individual will. The communal momentum that pulls you toward the pyramid, whether you're ready or not. Someone starts a morning song, and others pick it up. Stone by stone, we build a house of heaven. You don't sing along. Your voice isn't ready yet, but you walk in time with the rhythm. And that's enough. That's how each day begins. Not with enthusiasm or joy, just with the simple act of showing up, of moving your body toward the work, of continuing because everyone else is continuing. The sun breaks the horizon. RA begins his journey. And so do you. Again, the morning work is somehow easier than you expected. Not easy. Nothing about hauling stone is easy. But your body has slipped into its work mode more smoothly than yesterday. Muscle memory taking over, finding the rhythm without conscious thought. Pull, hold, pull, hold. The rope in your hands feels familiar now, almost comfortable in a disturbing kind of way. Your palms have molded to its shape over months of repetition. The foreman today is different, not Amenhotep, but a younger man named Seneb. He's newer to the position, still figuring out the balance between authority and humanity. Sometimes he's too harsh, overcorrecting. Other times too lenient, and the work slows down. But today he seems to have found a middle ground. Good pull, brothers. Steady rhythm. You're making progress. It's a small thing, that encouragement. But it changes the atmosphere somehow. Makes the crew feel less like disposable tools and more like valued contributors. The difference is subtle but real. Around mid-morning, Seneb does something unexpected. He calls for an extra water break. Not because anyone collapsed, just because the sun is particularly brutal today and he's noticed men struggling. 10 minutes, he announces. Shade rotation now. I don't need anyone dying on my watch. Some foreman wouldn't do this. Would push straight through, hit their quotas, let the bodies fall where they may. But Seneb is trying to be different. You can see him working it out, the mathematics of human endurance. How much can you push before the returns diminish? When does exhaustion become counterproductive? It's the same calculation the pyramid architects made on a larger scale. Keep workers alive and functional, and they produce more over time than if you burn them out quickly. Seneb is learning this lesson personally, adjusting his approach based on actual human feedback. During the water break, he walks among the crew, not inspecting, just present. He stops near your group, accepts a ladle of water from a carrier, drinks alongside you. How are the hands holding up? He asks you directly. You're surprised he's asking. You hold them up for inspection, wrapped linen, blood seeping through in a few spots, but nothing unusual. Same as always. That's what worries me, he says quietly. Same as always means slowly destroying yourselves. You don't know what to say to this. He's not wrong, but acknowledging it feels dangerous somehow. Like admitting weakness. It's the work, you finally respond. It's what we do. I know. I did it for 3 years before they made me foreman. Lost feeling in 2 fingers. He holds up his left hand. The ring and middle fingers are slightly curved, locked in a permanent half grip. Nerve damage from the ropes. Never came back. This honesty is unusual. Foremen usually maintain distance, stay authoritative. But Seneb seems to be trying something different. Building connection instead of hierarchy. Why'd they promote you if you got injured? Your brother asks. Because I understood the work. Because I'd lived it. And because they needed someone who wouldn't just drive workers into the ground. He pauses, takes another drink. The old foreman, Kinsit, he was brutal. Lost 6 men in a month. Just kept pushing, kept demanding, never adjusted. The overseer finally replaced him. Told me, keep the workers alive and the quotas will take care of themselves. This is probably the longest conversation you've ever had with a foreman. Usually it's just commands, corrections, occasionally acknowledgement of good work. But Seneb is different. Maybe because he's younger. Maybe because his injured fingers remind him daily what this work costs. Break's ending, he says, straightening up. But I mean it. If anyone's in real trouble, you signal me. Don't be a hero and collapse. Dead heroes don't finish pyramids. He walks off to check another crew. Your cousin watches him go. Weird foreman. Good weird or bad weird? Not sure yet, but at least he seems to give a shit. You return to your row position. The sun has climbed higher. The merciful morning coolness is gone. Now comes the real test of the day. The hours where heat becomes a physical weight pressing down on everything. But something about Seneb's approach has changed the crew's energy slightly. You're still exhausted, still suffering. But there's a sense that someone in authority actually sees you as human. That your survival matters to someone beyond just productivity numbers. It's a small thing. Maybe it won't last. Maybe Seneb will get hardened by the job, become like every other foreman. Or maybe he'll keep trying to balance humanity with quotas. Keep those two fingers curved as a reminder of what this work costs. Either way, for today at least, it helps. You pull the rope. The block moves. 6 inches closer to wherever it's going. And somehow, impossibly, it feels slightly less terrible than yesterday. Not good. Let's be clear. Still, definitely terrible. But on the spectrum of terrible, it's shifted a few degrees toward bearable. You'll take that. When survival is measured in degrees, even small improvements matter. The work continues. The sun beats down. The stone moves slowly toward the sky. But today, a foreman with damaged fingers is trying to keep you alive while you do it. And that's something worth noting. Something worth remembering when the pain gets overwhelming. You're not just tools. At least not to everyone. At least not today. By late afternoon, the real character of the work emerges. Not the morning's fresh suffering or midday's brutal heat. This is the exhaustion that accumulates, that compounds, that stops being acute pain and becomes your entire existence. You're not a person hauling stone. You're a stone being hauled. You are the rope. You are the dust. Everything merges into a single experience of endurance. But tonight, something different happens. Instead of the final push toward the evening gong, Seneb calls an early halt. 2 hours before the usual time. For a moment, everyone just stands there in confusion. Early stopping doesn't happen. It's not part of the system. You work until the gong or until you collapse. Those are the only 2 endings to a workday. Crew's ahead of quota, Seneb announces. Way ahead. You've moved more stone this week than any other team. So tonight, you get to go home while you can still walk. Stunned silence. Then someone in the back starts laughing. Not mocking laughter, the kind that comes from relief so intense it has nowhere else to go. Others join in. Soon the whole crew is laughing, this exhausted, disbelieving sound. You're serious? Your brother asks. I'm serious. Get out of here before I change my mind. Nobody needs to be told twice. Tools get set down with unusual care. When you're grateful, you treat things gently. The crew disperses, not in the usual dragging shuffle, but with something almost like energy. You can leave while the sun is still up, while you still have reserves left. This is unprecedented. As you walk away from the site, you keep glancing back, half expecting someone to call you all back, to announce it was a mistake or a test. But no call comes. Seneb just watches the crews depart, arms crossed, that slight smile on his face. He's probably going to catch hell from the overseers for this. Early release means paying full rations for partial work, technically, but he's gambling that well-rested workers will produce more tomorrow. That mercy now equals productivity later. The walk back to the village is transformed by daylight. Usually you make this journey in twilight or darkness, too exhausted to notice your surroundings. But now you can actually see things. The way the late afternoon sun turns the desert golden. The birds, ibises and herons, wading in the irrigation channels near the Nile. Other workers from different crews still laboring in the distance, their silhouettes small against the massive pyramid. You feel almost guilty leaving while they're still working, but not guilty enough to go back. Your cousin is practically skipping, actual skipping like a child. 2 extra hours. Do you know what I'm going to do with 2 extra hours? Sleep, you guess. Sleep, yes. Glorious, unnecessary, bonus sleep. You could do something else. See your family while you're conscious. My family can see me sleep. That's quality time. The village appears ahead, and something about seeing it in full daylight is disorienting. You're so used to arriving at dusk or after dark. But now you can see details usually hidden by shadows. The way some houses have small gardens growing in protected corners, lettuce, onions, herbs. The children playing in the streets. Usually they're being put to bed by the time you return. Your daughter is among them, playing some game involving a ball made of rags. She sees you, and her face transforms. Pure joy, unfiltered. Papa, you're home early. Are you sick? Did something happen? Nothing bad. Just finished early today. She crashes into your legs with her usual enthusiasm. Can we go to the river? You promised we could go to the river someday, when you had time. You did promise that. Months ago, in a moment of optimism, never expecting to actually have the time or energy. But right now, somehow you do. Yes, you hear yourself say, yes, we can go to the river. Her scream of excitement could shatter pottery. She runs off to tell her brothers, yelling the news like it's a religious revelation. Nefert emerges from the house, squinting at you in the sunlight. You're home. It's still light. Are you hurt? Why does everyone assume I'm hurt? Because you're never home while the sun's up unless something's wrong. Nothing's wrong. Foreman, let us go early. She studies you for a moment, then smiles. Actually smiles. Not the tired smile of evening, but a real one. Then we should celebrate. I'll pack food. Take the children to the river. Let them see their father isn't just an exhausted ghost who appears at night. This is happening. You're actually going to do something other than work, eat, and collapse. The concept feels foreign, almost dangerous, like you're breaking some fundamental rule. But you're too grateful to question it. Your children appear, all three of them, bouncing with excitement. Even the 2-year-old, who doesn't fully understand what's happening, is excited because everyone else is. Neferet hands you a basket with food and a clay jug of beer. Go. Enjoy. Come back before dark. The walk to the Nile takes about 20 minutes. Usually it feels longer because you're always exhausted when you make it. But today, with your children running ahead and circling back, it feels like no time at all. Your daughter is telling you everything about her day in excruciating detail. The frog, again, which apparently has been seen 3 more times. A boy who pushed her but then apologized. A song her mother taught her. A dream she had about flying. You realize you never get to hear this. By the time you usually see her, she's either already asleep or falling asleep. You've been missing her actual life. Missing the small details that make up childhood. The realization sits heavy in your chest, mixing gratitude with grief. Grateful for today. Grieving for all the days you've missed. But you push the grief aside. Right now you have this. This walk, this sunlight, this daughter holding your hand and talking about frogs. The Nile appears ahead. That eternal ribbon of life cutting through the desert. The water reflects the golden afternoon sun, almost painful to look at directly. Your children run ahead to the bank, and you follow at a slower pace. Your body is still exhausted. Early release doesn't erase a day's labor. But exhaustion mixed with joy feels different than exhaustion mixed with only more exhaustion. Today, you're not just a pyramid builder. Today, you're a father. And that makes all the difference. The Nile's edge is crowded, but not overwhelming. Other families are here, workers who finish their day, women washing clothes, children splashing in the shallows. Everyone observing the unspoken rules of the river. Stay upstream for drinking water collection. Middle section for bathing and playing. Downstream for washing clothes and anything messy. The system works because everyone needs it to work. Your children immediately start pulling off their simple tunics, preparing to dive in. Wait, you say, catching your daughter's arm. Watch for crocodiles first. This is not paranoia. Crocodiles are real, common, and patient. They blend into the muddy banks like logs until something small and splashing gets too close. Everyone who lives near the Nile knows someone who's lost someone to crocodiles. Your son, the 10-year-old, is already scanning the water with practiced eyes. I don't see any. Look at that log there, you point. That's not a log. He squints, Then his eyes widen. About 30 feet downstream, what looked like a piece of driftwood has eyes. Small eyes, watching. Good catch, Papa. Always check. Every time. Even when you think you've checked. The crocodile, aware it's been spotted, slides into deeper water and disappears. Not gone. They never really leave. Just repositioning. This is the negotiation of living beside the Nile. The river gives everything. Water, fish, transportation, fertile soil when it floods. In return, it occasionally takes a life. The bargain everyone accepts because there's no alternative. Your daughter is impatient with safety. Can we swim now? Stay in the shallow part, where I can see you. All three of you. They splash in, immediately screaming at the water's coolness. After a day in the sun, the Nile feels like a blessing from the gods themselves. You watch them play for a moment, the unself-conscious joy of children in water. Your daughter trying to teach her youngest brother to float. Your oldest son diving under and popping up in different spots. Simple happiness that costs nothing and means everything. You wade in yourself, still wearing your loincloth. The water is cool, but not cold, perfect. It reaches your knees, then your thighs, then your waist. You can feel the current, gentle but persistent, reminding you that the Nile is always moving, always traveling from somewhere far south to the great delta in the north. You're just borrowing this water for a moment. You duck under completely, letting the Nile wash over you. Opening your eyes underwater, the world turns green-brown and murky. Fish dart past, small silver flashes. Reeds wave in the current like dancing figures. You surface, gasping, feeling more alive than you have in weeks. The water has done what hours of rest couldn't. Shocked your body into remembering it's more than just a tool for moving stone. Your daughter swims over, paddling awkwardly but determined. Papa, watch this. She tries to dive under, but mostly just tips forward and flails. It's objectively terrible swimming technique. You tell her it's the best diving you've ever seen. She glows with pride and immediately tries again. This is what you're building the pyramid for, you realize. Not for the pharaoh's immortality. That's the official reason, the religious justification. But really, you're building it so your family can eat, so your children can grow up safe in this village. So you can have moments like this, where the Nile washes away the dust, and your daughter shows you her terrible diving. The pyramid is just the mechanism. This is the actual purpose. You float on your back, letting the current hold you. Above, the sky is that deep afternoon blue. A hawk circles, riding thermals, looking for prey in the reeds. The sounds of the river surround you, splashing, laughing, distant voices, birds calling, water moving. The eternal soundscape of the Nile. Historians will eventually debate every detail of pyramid construction. They'll calculate block weights and ramp angles and workforce size. They'll analyze grain rations and copper tool efficiency. But they'll mostly miss this. The workers were just people. People who needed to eat, needed to provide for families, needed moments of joy to make the suffering bearable. The pyramids are monuments to human endurance, yes, but also to human motivation. You don't move millions of tons of stone through force alone. You do it because moving stone means your daughter gets to learn to swim, means your sons grow up fed and healthy, means your wife doesn't have to wonder if you'll eat today. Your cousin appears on the bank, also freed early, also making the most of it. He wades in with a whoop, dunking himself completely. This is incredible. I forgot water could feel good instead of just necessary. He's right. Usually water is functional, for washing work dust, for drinking to stay alive. But this is water for pleasure, for cooling off, for playing, for being. Your children have started a game with his children, some complex rules involving splashing and diving that only make sense to them. The adults drift together, waist deep, letting the kids play. Seneb's going to get in trouble for letting us go early, your cousin says. Probably. Worth it, though. Definitely worth it. You both float in comfortable silence for a moment. Then your cousin adds quietly, I want my sons to have a different life than this. Same, but I don't know how to give them that. Nobody does. We just keep moving the stone and hope something changes. It's not a satisfying answer, but it's honest. And sometimes honesty is all you can offer. The sun is lower now, painting the sky in early evening colors. Rose and gold and deep orange. You should think about heading back soon. But not yet. Not quite yet. For a few more moments, you could be just a father in the river with his children. Just a man who isn't broken by labor. Just someone experiencing something good. The pyramid can wait. Tomorrow will come with its demands. But right now, the Nile flows cool and eternal, and your daughter is laughing, and that's enough. That's more than enough. That's everything. The walk back to the village happens in that magical hour when the sun has set but darkness hasn't fully arrived. The sky is painted in layers, deep blue overhead, fading to purple, then rose, then gold at the horizon. Your children are exhausted in the good way. The satisfied exhaustion that comes from play, not labor. Your daughter is on your shoulders now, her small hands gripping your hair for balance. She's humming something, probably that song about Ra's journey that old Kamwasit is always singing. Your sons walk beside you, unusually quiet. The kind of peaceful quiet that comes after a good day. The village is settling into evening when you arrive. But tonight, you're not arriving half-dead from work. You're arriving fed, rested, clean, with your family around you. The difference is profound. Nefret has prepared something special. You can smell it from the street. Fish stew with vegetables, the rich aroma of cumin and coriander cutting through the evening air. How do you have time to cook this, you ask? I started earlier, thinking you'd need something substantial. Didn't know you'd be home early to actually enjoy it while it's hot. She ladles the stew into bowls, and the family settles in the courtyard. Usually, evening meals are eaten in tired silence. Everyone too exhausted to talk, just mechanically fueling bodies for the next day. But tonight is different. Tonight, there's conversation. Your daughter tells everyone about the river, embellishing the crocodile into something roughly the size of the pyramid. Your oldest son talks about wanting to learn to fish properly. Maybe that could be a trade instead of stone hauling. You encourage this idea immediately. Nefret tells a story about two neighbors who got into an argument over a shared cooking pot that ended with both of them apologizing and sharing bread. Small village gossip that you never usually have energy to hear. The 2-year-old falls asleep in his bowl, face nearly touching the stew. Nefret scoops him up gently, carries him inside to his mat. When she returns, she sits beside you, close enough that your shoulders touch. "This is nice," she says quietly, "having you present. Not just physically here, but actually present. I'm always here. Your body is here. But you're usually so exhausted you're barely conscious. This is different. This is actually you." She's right, and the truth of it stings slightly. How many evenings have you spent as a ghost, present in body, but absent in every way that matters? I wish every day could end like this. You admit. Instead of me just collapsing. Said it might be on to something. Treat workers like humans, get better results. He'll probably get disciplined for it. Maybe. Or maybe someone will notice his crews are more productive. That rested workers move more stone in the long run. You want to believe this. Want to believe that humanity and efficiency can coexist. That the system might actually change based on evidence. But you've seen too many good foremen get replaced for being too soft. Still, tonight isn't for cynicism. Tonight is for enjoying what you have. The children are cleaned up and sent to bed earlier than usual. Not because they have to, but because they actually want to. They're that particular kind of tired that comes from a full, good day. You and Nefret climb to the roof again. The stars are emerging now, dozens visible, then hundreds, then thousands. The sky becomes a map of light. "Tell me about the pyramid," she says. This is unusual. Usually, the last thing you want to do is talk about work. But something about her tone suggests she's asking for a specific reason. What about it? What's it like? Actually working on it? I see it from here, this massive thing growing. But what's it like to be part of it? You consider the question. Try to find words for something you've never really articulated. It's overwhelming. Even after 2 years, I look at it and can't believe humans are building it. The scale is incomprehensible, but you're building it. I'm moving individual blocks. The comprehensible part, but how those blocks become a pyramid, that's beyond me. The architects, the engineers, they see the whole thing. I just see my rope and my crew and the stone in front of me. You pause, watching the stars. Sometimes I wonder if we're building something that will outlast everything. If people thousands of years from now will look at it and wonder how we did it, whether they'll remember us. They won't remember you specifically. No, they'll remember the pharaoh. The architects, maybe, not the haulers. We'll be invisible. Does that bother you? You think about this. It should, maybe. But honestly, no. I'm not building it for future memory. I'm building it so my children eat. So we have this house, this life. If the pyramid stands forever, great. But I'll be dead long before then. What matters is right now. This roof, these stars, you beside me. She squeezes your hand. That's a good answer. You sit in comfortable silence, watching the sky slowly rotate. Somewhere in the village, someone is singing, a lullaby, soft and distant. Dogs bark in the distance, their voices carrying across the still night air. The temperature has dropped to something perfect, not cold, just cool enough to be comfortable after the day's heat. I'm scared, Nefert says suddenly. Of what? Of how much this work is destroying you. Every day, you come home more broken. What happens in 5 years? 10? When your back finally gives out completely? When your hands stop working? It's the fear you both carry but rarely speak aloud. The knowledge that this job has an expiration date written into your body. I don't know, you admit. Maybe by then the pyramid is finished. Maybe they need workers for maintenance instead of hauling. Maybe our sons learn different trades. Maybe a lot of things. But we don't know. No, we don't know. You both sit with this uncertainty. The truth that you're trading your body for survival, with no guarantee of what comes after. But we have tonight, you finally say. We have this moment, right now, where we're both alive and together and our children are safe. That's not nothing. It's not nothing, she agrees. But I want more than just moments. So do I. But moments are what we get. So we make them count. It's not a perfect answer. There are no perfect answers in a life built on stone and hope. But it's honest. And honesty, in the dark, under the stars, is its own kind of comfort. You lie back on the mat as she curls against you. Two people who've chosen to survive together, who've built a life in the shadow of a monument, who hope that their small, invisible efforts add up to something meaningful. Even if the world never knows your name. Even if you're forgotten as soon as you're gone. Right now, you're here. And that's enough. That has to be enough. The stars wheel overhead in their eternal patterns. The pyramid rises in the distance, massive and dark. And two people breathe together on a roof, storing up this moment of peace to sustain them through whatever comes next. The next morning comes with its usual cruelty. The roosters, the stirring village, the body protesting against another day. But something is different. You're not quite as destroyed as usual. The early evening, the time in the river, the actual rest, it's made a measurable difference. You're still tired, still sore. But it's regular tired instead of soul-deep exhaustion. The difference between climbing a hill and climbing a mountain. At the worksite, you notice the same shift in your crew. Men moving with slightly more energy. Jokes starting earlier in the day. The work songs emerging naturally instead of forced. Senab notices too. You can see him observing, making mental notes. His experiment in humanity seems to be producing results. By midday, your crew has already moved more blocks than yesterday. The same amount of effort, but applied more efficiently because bodies that rested actually work better. Revolutionary concept. Senab calls the crew together during the noon break. You're setting records, he announces. 3 days in a row now. Best productivity in 5 years, according to the scribes. A murmur of pride moves through the group. So I'm making it official. From now on, this crew finishes when quota is met. Not when the sun sets. Meet your goals, you go home. Exceed them, you go home earlier. This is radical. The other crews are still operating on time-based schedules. Work from dawn to dusk regardless of output. But Seneb is trying something different, measuring results instead of hours. The overseer approved this, someone asked skeptically. The overseer approved the productivity increase. He doesn't care how I achieve it as long as the stone keeps moving. Seneb pauses, his damaged fingers flexing unconsciously. I was a hauler. I know what this does to you. If I can get the same results while destroying you slower, everyone wins. You live longer. The pyramid still gets built. The pharaoh's eternal house still rises. It's the most honest speech you've ever heard from someone in authority. No pretending the work isn't brutal. No religious platitudes about divine service. Just practical acknowledgement that human bodies break, and maybe they don't have to break quite so fast. The afternoon work feels different. There's actual motivation beyond just surviving until the gong. You can see the quota markers. The scribes have set clear targets. Move these specific blocks to these specific positions. Do that and you're done. It transforms the work from endless suffering into a concrete challenge. The crew coordinates better. Someone notices inefficiencies in rope positioning and suggests adjustments. Another worker figures out a better stance that distributes weight more evenly. These small optimizations would never happen if everyone was just grinding through hours. But give people a reason to work smarter, and suddenly creativity emerges. By mid-afternoon, you're close to quota. The final push has energy behind it that's unusual for this time of day. Everyone can see the finish line. One more block, two more, three more. The scribe marks the final block placement. Quota met. 70 blocks positioned. Crew is released. There's a moment of stunned realization. It's only 3 hours past midday. The sun is still high. You have actual afternoon left. The crew disperses with something approaching enthusiasm. You and your brother walk back together. This is unsustainable, he says. How so? It's too good. Someone's going to shut it down. The other foreman will complain. The system doesn't work like this. Maybe the system should work like this. Should and does are different things. He's probably right. But for now, you'll take it. Back at the village, you find yourself with an unexpected resource. Time and energy simultaneously. Usually you have time, evening hours, but no energy. Or energy, morning, but no time because you're working. But right now you have both. Your oldest son is in the courtyard, struggling with some carpentry project. He's trying to repair a stool, but the joint keeps splitting. Let me show you something, you hear yourself say. You sit beside him, take the wood, examine the joint. The grain is wrong here. See how it runs? When you force the joint against the grain, it splits. You need to work with the wood, not against it. You guide his hands, show him the proper angle. Watch understanding dawn on his face. This is teaching. This is being a father beyond just providing rations. This is using your knowledge, earned through years of working with wood and rope and construction, to give your son skills. For the next hour, you work together on the stool. It's not urgent, not necessary. Just a father and son fixing furniture in the afternoon sun. Your daughter appears with her frog story, which has evolved. Now the frog can apparently speak. It told her secrets about where the best mud is for making bricks. You nod seriously, ask important questions about the frog's opinions. Play along with her imagination in a way you never have energy for usually. Nefert watches from the doorway, and when you catch her eye, she's smiling. Not the tired smile of making do, a real smile of contentment. This is what life could be, you realize, if the system worked differently. If rest was built into the schedule instead of being a rare gift. If workers were treated as humans with families instead of tools with consumption rates. The pyramid would still get built. Maybe even faster, given the productivity increases. But the cost in human suffering would be lower. The question is whether anyone in power cares about that cost. Whether efficiency measured in stone movement is all that matters. Or whether there's room in the calculation for lives lived instead of just lives spent. You don't have answers. You're just a hauler who got unexpectedly lucky with a foreman. But you're storing up these moments carefully. These afternoons of teaching your son carpentry. These evenings of arriving home while you're still conscious. These mornings of waking up merely tired instead of destroyed. Because, deep down, that this probably won't last. Systems don't change easily. Good things get disrupted. Sinab will get reassigned, or overruled, or worn down by the job, until he becomes like every other foreman. But right now, in this moment, you have this, and you're going to appreciate every second of it. Because moments are all anyone really has. Even pharaohs, with their pyramids and their claims of immortality. Even they only get moments. Yours just happen to include teaching your son about wood grain and listening to your daughter's frog stories. And honestly, that's immortality enough. The weekly rest day arrives with its own special quality. Every 7 days, the pyramid site closes completely. No one approaches the construction. No blocks are moved. Even the scribes take the day away from their papyri. This is religious law, practical necessity, and mercy all combined into one institution. The gods demand rest, so rest is mandatory. You wake naturally, without the rooster's urgency. The village has a different sound on rest days. Quieter, slower, like everyone's moving through honey. No rush, no panic, no foreman counting heads. Your body knows it's rest day before your mind fully wakes. The way your muscles don't immediately tense against the coming demands. The way breathing feels easier, less defensive. After the quick morning wash, briefer than workday cleaning, just enough to feel human, the village begins its weekly ritual. Families emerge carrying baskets, children already excited. Today is River Blessing Day. The one day when going to the Nile isn't about quick washing or supervised children's play. Today, everyone goes together. The whole village processing to the water like a religious pilgrimage, which in a way it is. The walk is leisurely, nothing like the exhausted evening returns or the determined morning marches. People chat, laugh, children run ahead and circle back. Old Kamwasit is already telling stories to anyone who'll listen. I remember one rest day, must have been 15 years back, when a hippopotamus decided to join the blessing. Just walked right into the middle of everyone. The story's details change every time he tells it. But that's not the point. The point is the telling, the listening, the connection. The Nile comes into view, and it looks different today. Not just a resource to be used carefully. Today it's sacred, beautiful, the artery of all Egyptian life showing itself in full glory. The water is deep blue-green, reflecting the morning sky. Birds are everywhere. Herons, ibises, egrets, all fishing in the shallows. Palm trees lean over the banks, their reflections doubling in the still water. The designated blessing area is upstream from the usual washing spots. Cleaner water, reserved for this purpose. A priest is already there, not the physician priest from the medical tent, but a proper temple priest. Shaved head, white linen robe, so clean it almost glows, holding a bronze ritual vessel. He chants something in the old language. Not the everyday Egyptian everyone speaks, but the formal temple version that sounds like music. You don't understand all the words, but you understand the meaning. Thanks to the Nile for sustaining life. Blessings on the water that makes Egypt possible. Prayers that the flood will come again in its season. The priest gestures and families begin entering the water. Not splashing and playing like the other evening. This is different, slower, more intentional. You wade in with Nefret and the children. The water is cool and perfect. Your daughter holds your hand tightly, suddenly shy in the ceremonial atmosphere. Is this different from regular swimming? She whispers. Same water, you whisper back. But today we're remembering it's sacred. That everything we have comes from here. She considers this seriously, then nods. The priest continues his chanting while walking along the shore. Occasionally he dips his bronze vessel and pours water back into the river. Symbolic return of what's been taken. You duck under completely, letting the Nile envelope you. This is the weekly washing of more than just body. Historians will debate the religious beliefs of common Egyptians, whether they truly believed in the divine nature of the Nile or just went through the motions. But standing here, chest deep in water that sustained your people for thousands of years, the distinction seems meaningless. Belief and gratitude and practical acknowledgement all blur together into something that feels sacred enough. The water literally keeps you alive. Of course you bless it. Your son, the 10-year-old, is trying to stay serious and ceremonial. But your daughter's reverence lasts about 5 minutes before she starts giggling and splashing her brother. The priest doesn't seem to mind. In fact, he's smiling at the children's joy. Maybe that's part of the blessing, too. Children playing in the water that will sustain them throughout their lives. After the formal blessing, the day becomes pure leisure. Families spread out along the banks. Some people fish, not for tomorrow's commercial catch, but for today's enjoyment. Others just float and talk. Children build elaborate sand structures near the water's edge. Food appears, families sharing what they brought. Bread, dried fish, dates, occasionally something special like honey cakes. You end up in a loose gathering with your brother, cousin, and several crew members. All of you in various states of lounging, letting the sun dry your skin. "My back doesn't hurt today," your cousin announces, sounding surprised. "First time in months." "Mine either," your brother adds. "Or it does, but I don't care because I'm not using it." Everyone laughs at this distinction. Old Kamwasit, who's appointed himself the group's elder philosopher, speaks up. "You know what I've learned in 40 years of this work? The pyramid doesn't care about us. It'll stand for thousands of years. We'll be dust. So days like this is what matters. This is what we're actually building. We're building a pyramid," someone points out. "No, we're building lives. The pyramid is just what we do to make living possible. But this," he gestures at the river, the families, the lazy afternoon. "This is the actual work. Staying human while doing inhuman labor. It's more profound than you'd expect from someone who spends most of his time snoring and telling exaggerated stories." But he's right. The pyramid is already becoming eternal. It doesn't need your name remembered. But these moments, teaching your son carpentry, blessing the river with your daughter, floating in an aisle while your back doesn't hurt, these are the actual currency of life. These are what you're really working for. The afternoon stretches on, timeless and perfect. The sun moves across the sky, but you barely notice. No quota to meet. No foreman counting productivity. Just the eternal Nile, flowing as it always has, giving life to everyone who knows how to receive it. Your daughter falls asleep on the bank, her head on your lap. Face peaceful, hair still wet, breathing the deep rhythm of complete security. This image, more than any pyramid, is what you want to last. Not in stone or history. Just in this moment, this feeling, this proof that despite everything, you've protected something precious. Eventually, as the sun begins its descent, families gather their things and begin to walk back. Tired again, but the good kind. The kind that comes from a day fully lived instead of survived. Tomorrow, work begins again. The stone will wait for you, patient and eternal. But tonight, you've remembered why you're willing to move it. For days like this, for the Nile's blessing, for your daughter's sleeping face, for the luxury of not hurting. The pyramid rises in the distance as you walk home. Already massive, already impressive. It will outlast you by millennia. But today, you outlived it. Today, you were more than a builder. You were blessed. The next work week brings a shift in the village atmosphere. Word has spread about Seneb's quota system, and the productivity increases. Other foremen are noticing, some with interest, others with suspicion or resentment. You're at the fountain one evening when you overhear a conversation between two foremen from different crews. The older one, Kinsit, the brutal foreman Seneb replaced, is speaking loudly enough that everyone can hear. "Mark my words, this coddling won't last. Workers need discipline, not rest. Push them hard and they produce. Give them mercy and they'll slack." The other foreman, younger, sounds uncertain. But his crew's productivity numbers are undeniable. The scribes have verified. Numbers can be manipulated. What matters is control. You let workers think they have power, and the whole system collapses. You keep your head down, washing quietly. But you're listening, and so is everyone else at the fountain. This tension has been building. Seneb's success is making other foremen look bad by comparison. Their crews are asking questions. Why can't we finish early when we meet quotas? Reasonable questions that threaten the established order. Change always does. The next morning at the work site, the atmosphere feels different. Heavier somehow. Multiple overseers are present. The administrators who normally stay in their shaded offices, reviewing papyrus and making decisions. They're watching, evaluating. Senab notices, too. You can see the tension in his shoulders. Normal work today, he tells the crew quietly. Just do what you've been doing. Don't give them anything to criticize. But it's hard to work naturally when you know you're being scrutinized. The crew's rhythm is off. People are second-guessing themselves, moving more carefully but less efficiently. By midday, you're behind yesterday's pace. One of the overseers, a thin man with cold eyes, approaches Senab. Their conversation is too quiet to hear, but the body language tells the story. The overseer gesturing sharply. Senab responding calmly, but firmly. The overseer shaking his head, making notes on his papyrus. During the water break, Senab gathers the crew. They want to return to time-based schedules. Say the quota system creates inequality between crews. Silence. The heavy silence of disappointment that's expected but still hurts. I argued for keeping it. Showed them the productivity numbers. They don't care. They care about uniformity and control. Your cousin speaks up. So we go back to working until sunset regardless of output? That's what they're pushing for. But Senab pauses, and you see him making a decision in real time. But I'm still the foreman of this crew. And as long as I am, we work smart, not just long. We can't officially end early anymore. But I can manage the pace. Rotate breaks more frequently. Adjust the work distribution to reduce injuries. It's not the same as the quota system, but it's something. A quiet resistance. Working within the system's constraints to preserve whatever humanity he can. The afternoon work is subdued. Everyone processing this small loss. It wasn't a big change, just a few weeks of finishing early. But it was hoped that things could be different. That someone in authority actually cared about the human cost. Now, that hope is being systematically crushed. That evening, walking back to the village, the crew is quieter than usual. Not the comfortable quiet of exhaustion. The bitter quiet of disappointment. Your brother finally speaks. It was good while it lasted. Yeah. Think Senab will get demoted for this? Probably. Making the other foreman look bad is a political problem. Stupid. His crew moves more stone. That should be all that matters. Should be. But it's not. At home, you tell Nefret about the day's developments. She listens while preparing dinner, her hands working mechanically through familiar tasks. So we're back to how it was before? Not exactly. Senab's still trying. Just has to be more subtle about it. Subtle mercy. Better than none, I suppose. She sounds tired. Not physically, though she's that too. Tired of hoping things might improve. Tired of watching you destroy yourself. Tired of a system that grinds people down and calls it necessary. You want to comfort her. Want to promise that things will get better. But you've learned not to make promises you can't keep. The pyramid work continues, as always does. Days blur together again. Work, exhaustion, brief rest, repeat. Senab does what he can within his constraints. Longer water breaks when the overseers aren't watching. Rotating the hardest positions more frequently. Small acts of mercy that don't show up in any official records. But 3 weeks later, the announcement comes. Senab is being reassigned to supply logistics. A promotion, officially. Better pay, less physical oversight required. But everyone knows what it really is. Removal. Get him away from workers before his ideas spread. His replacement is Kensit, the brutal foreman who was replaced because he lost 6 men in a month. He's back, and he arrives with a message. His crew has gotten soft. Too much rest, not enough discipline. That changes today. And it does change. Immediately, dramatically, cruelly. Water breaks cut in half. Shade rotations eliminated. Just work through the heat until you collapse. Work songs discouraged as wasted breath. Any questioning or suggestion met with threats of ration reduction. The productivity initially drops, as bodies break down faster. But Kinsit doesn't care about productivity. He cares about control, about showing workers their place. Within a week, 2 men from your crew are in the medical tent with serious injuries. One dislocated shoulder from exhausted grip failure. One severe heat exhaustion that might be permanent damage. The crew's spirit breaks faster than bodies. The camaraderie that Cinna built disintegrates under Kinsit's suspicion and punishment. Men stop helping each other. Stop suggesting improvements. Just put heads down and survive each day individually. It's not just your crew. The whole work site grows darker. Word spreads that Sinab's approach has been officially rejected. That mercy is weakness. That the old ways are the only ways. Several workers quit entirely, accept the ration penalties and reduce status. Deciding survival is more important than the pyramid. You think about quitting. Late at night, when your back screams and your hands shake. When you know that this path ends in your body, completely broken. But then you look at your sleeping children. At the food stored in clay jars. At the roof over your heads that pyramid work pays for. And you know you'll go back tomorrow. Not because you believe in the pharaoh's eternity. Not because you think the system is just. Simply because you have no better option. Because in ancient Egypt, under the burning sun, for a common man with a family to feed, there are no good choices. Only slightly less terrible ones. And hauling stone until you break is still better than watching your children starve. So you sleep, and wake, and return to the ropes, and pull. Because that's what you do. That's all you can do. And hope, that dangerous, persistent thing. Hope that somehow, somewhere, things might still change. Even though they probably won't. 3 months pass under Kinsit's regime. 3 months that feel like years. Your body is breaking down faster now. The pace is unsustainable, but it continues anyway because systems don't care about sustainability. They care about control. Your hands shake constantly now, even during rest. The tremor that used to come only at night is now your permanent state. Nerve damage, probably. The kind that doesn't heal. Your back has developed a clicking sound when you bend. Something fundamental has shifted in your spine. The physician priests give you willow bark and sympathetic looks. They know what this trajectory means. Everyone does. You're aging in fast forward. 23 years old, but moving like 40. In another 5 years, if you last that long, you'll be crippled. Unable to work, unable to provide, reduced to sitting in the village square with the other broken men, living on charity and memories. This is the unspoken reality of pyramid building. The pharaoh gets his eternal monument. The workers get early graves or broken bodies. The exchange rate has always been clear, but knowing it intellectually is different from feeling it in your grinding spine. One morning, you simply can't get up. Not won't, can't. Your back is locked completely. Frozen in a half-bent position, muscles seize so tight they feel like stone. Nefret tries to help you stand. The pain is so intense you nearly black out. You're not going today, she says firmly. I have to. They dock rations for absence. They can dock the rations. You're staying home. We need you alive more than we need full rations for one day. She's right, but feels like failure. Like you're letting everyone down. Your crew, your family, even the pyramid itself. Ridiculous thought that the pyramid doesn't care if you're there or not. Someone else will pull your rope. Another body, equally temporary, equally expendable. You spend the day on your mat, unable to do anything but lie still and breathe. The physician priest comes, Seekum, the one with gentle hands. He examines your back with careful fingers. The muscles are trying to protect the spine, he explains. They've locked up to prevent further damage. But the locking itself causes pain. Can you fix it? I can help. But honestly, you need to stop this work. Permanently. That's not an option. Then you're choosing permanent disability. Maybe within months. Your spine can't sustain this much longer. He works on your back for an hour. Pressing, kneading, applying heated cloths soaked in herbal mixtures. Gradually, painfully, the muscles begin to release. By evening, you can sit up. By the next morning, you can walk. But you're not fixed. You're just functional enough to destroy yourself further. Seacom knows this. I've done what I can, he says as he leaves. But I've also done you no favors. I've just enabled you to keep breaking yourself. He sounds tired. Physicians see this pattern constantly. Patch workers up just enough for them to return to the work that's killing them. An endless cycle of damage and inadequate repair. You return to work the next day. Kensett marks you down for the absence, but says nothing else. Your crewmates glance at you with sympathy and relief. Sympathy for your obvious pain, relief that it's not them. Not yet, anyway. Everyone's turn comes eventually. The work continues. Pull, hold. The rope in your hands, the stone grudgingly moving. Your back screaming with every pull, but not quite giving out. The human body's capacity to continue past reasonable limits is remarkable. Also horrifying. During a brief water break, old Kimwasit sits beside you. He's one of the few who's lasted decades at this work. You're thinking about quitting, he observes. It's not a question. Can't afford to quit. Can't afford not to, either. Not if you want to see your children grow up. What did you do? You've survived longer than anyone. He laughs, but it's bitter. Survived? Look at me. I can't straighten my spine. I have no feeling in 3 fingers. I cough blood every morning. I've survived into a living demonstration of the cost. He pauses, drinks water. But I'll tell you what kept me going. It wasn't the pyramid. It wasn't the pharaoh or the priests or the promise of eternal glory. It was spite. Spite. The system wanted to break me, and I refused to be broken completely. I showed up every day because quitting felt like losing. Stupid reason, maybe, but it got me through. He looks at you with rheumy eyes that have seen too much. But you're younger. You have options I didn't. Your son, he's smart, right? Could learn a trade? Maybe. Then make sure he does. Get him away from the stone. 1 generation of broken backs is enough. It's the most honest conversation you've had about the work. No pretending it's noble or worthwhile. Just acknowledging that you're all slowly being destroyed for someone else's immortality. That evening, you talk to your oldest son. Really talk, not the tired exchanges that usually pass for conversation. I need you to learn something other than hauling stone. He looks surprised. But you're a hauler. Grandfather was a hauler. I know what you thought, but I want different for you. You show him your hands. The permanent tremor, the scarred palms, the fingers that no longer fully close. This is what 20 years looks like if you're lucky. Most men don't last that long. Your body breaks down, and then what? You sit in the square, useless, living on charity. But the pyramid doesn't care about you. It doesn't care about any of us. It's stone. It'll stand for thousands of years, and our names won't be on it anywhere. You soften your tone. I'm not saying the work is shameful. Someone has to build these things. But if you can learn carpentry, or pottery, or scribing, anything that doesn't destroy your body, you should. He nods slowly, processing this. I'll try, Papa. Good. That's all I ask. Just try. It's a small thing. Maybe it won't work. Maybe he'll end up on the ropes anyway. But you've planted the seed, given him permission to want something different. That night, sleep comes hard despite exhaustion. Your back aches. Your hands shake. Your mind won't stop calculating. How many more days can you do this? How do you provide if you can't work? What happens when your body finally gives out completely? No good answers. Just the slow grind of time and stone and breaking bodies. But somewhere in the darkness, you find a small piece of peace. Not acceptance. Not surrender. Just acknowledgement. You're doing what you can with what you have. Protecting your family the only way you know how. And teaching your son to find a different path. It's not enough, but it's something. And sometimes, in the grinding machinery of empire, something is all you get. The days continue their relentless march, one after another, blurring together into a continuous experience of effort and exhaustion. But something subtle shifts inside you. Not surrender, exactly. More like acceptance of the rhythm. You stop fighting the reality of what this work is. Stop hoping for systemic change that isn't coming. Instead, you find a kind of peace in the repetition itself. The rope in your hands every morning. The same crew around you, all of you moving together. The pyramid growing incrementally, layer by layer, your contribution invisible but real. There's something almost meditative about work this physical, this simple. Your mind empties of everything except the immediate. Pull, breathe, hold, breathe, pull. No room for worry about tomorrow when today demands everything. Your back still hurts. Your hands still shake. But you've stopped resenting these facts. They're just the conditions of your existence now. Like the sun rising, like the Nile flowing. Just what is. The crew has found its equilibrium too, even under Kensit's harsh regime. You've learned his patterns, his moods. When to keep your head down, when a request might be considered. How to work at the exact pace that avoids both punishment for slowness and suspicion for excessive effort. It's a survival skill, reading your oppressor. Not admirable, maybe, but necessary. Old Kamwasit collapses one day. Just drops mid-pull, rope falling from his hands. The crew stops immediately. You can't continue without everyone pulling. He's conscious, just unable to stand. I'm done, he says simply, lying in the dust. Bodies finally quit. They carry him to the medical tent. He doesn't come back. Word reaches you later that he's been retired to the village, given a small ration as thanks for his decades of service. He'll live out however much time remains in the square, telling his exaggerated stories. One more body broken by stone and time. His absence hits harder than you expected. He was the connection to history, the proof that survival, however damaged, was possible. Now he's gone, and the crew feels younger, more temporary. But life continues. A new worker joins to replace Kamwasit. Young, eager, doesn't yet understand what he's signed up for. You and your brother and cousin take turns teaching him the small things that make survival possible. How to wrap your hands so the rope doesn't shred them immediately. Which water carriers are most reliable. How to adjust your stance to distribute weight. The accumulated wisdom of broken men, passed down like inheritance. Months pass. A year. The pyramid grows. You can see real progress now. The shape emerging, the intention becoming visible. It will be magnificent when finished. You might even live to see it completed, though by then you'll probably be too broken to care. Your daughter is 7 now. Your middle son is 4. The oldest is 12 and has, miraculously, been accepted as a carpenter's apprentice. He'll learn to build furniture, boats, scaffolding, work that requires skill and strength, but won't destroy him the same way. This feels like victory. Small, personal, invisible to anyone outside your family, but real nonetheless. One generation breaking the cycle. One son who won't end up with shaking hands and a ruined spine. One small act of protection that might actually work. Nefret notices the change in you. You seem different lately, she observes one evening. Calmer somehow. I've stopped fighting what I can't change, you explain. The work is the work. My body is breaking. These are facts. Fighting them just adds suffering on top of suffering. That sounds like giving up. Maybe. Or maybe it's just accepting reality. I can't change the system. Can't make the pyramid disappear. Can't heal my back. But I can show up each day and pull my rope and come home to you. That's enough. She's quiet for a moment. Is it really enough? It has to be, because it's all I have. She leans against you, and you sit together in the courtyard as evening settles. The children playing some elaborate game involving sticks and a ball. The cooking fire burning low. The village sounds surrounding you, dogs, conversations, someone singing. This moment, repeated with variations 10,000 times, is your actual life. Not the pyramid, not the pharaoh's glory. These small, imperfect, beautiful moments of just existing with the people you love. The work continues. Days fold into weeks and months. Your body continues its slow deterioration, but your spirit has found something like equilibrium. You're a pyramid builder. This is what you do. It's destroying you slowly, yes, but it's also feeding your family, keeping them safe, giving your children chance. And in the end, isn't that what any parent does? Trade pieces of themselves for their children's survival. You're just doing it more literally than most. The rope is in your hands. The stone moves forward. The sun crosses the sky. The day ends. You walk home. You eat. You sleep. You wake. You do it again. This is the rhythm of your life. Simple, brutal, repetitive, and somehow enough. Not good, maybe. Not what you would have chosen if choice had been available, but enough to sustain existence. Enough to find small joys within. Enough to protect what matters. And when you lie down each night, exhausted beyond measure, you can at least know this. You showed up. You did the work. You protected your own. And tomorrow, if your body allows it, you'll do it again. Not because it's glorious. Not because anyone will remember. Just because it's what you do. What you've always done. What pyramid builders have done for generations and will do for generations more. Moving stone. Surviving. Finding small pockets of peace in the grinding machinery of empire. It's enough. It has to be enough. And so, with that acceptance, you close your eyes. Let exhaustion pull you down into darkness. Your breathing slows and deepens. The sounds of the village fade. Your body begins its nightly repairs. Inadequate, insufficient, but still trying. Still fighting to keep you functional one more day. The stars wheel overhead in their eternal patterns. The Nile flows in the darkness. The pyramid stands, massive and patient, waiting for tomorrow's stone. And you sleep, deep and dreamless. The sleep of the exhausted. The sleep of the enduring. The sleep of someone who has made peace with their breaking. Not surrender. Not defeat. Just rest. Simple, necessary, blessed rest. Until morning comes and the cycle begins again. But for now, for these precious hours, there is nothing but darkness and breathing and the slow healing that comes with sleep. For now, you're not a worker or a builder or a tool. You're just a human being resting. And that is the greatest gift of all. Sleep well. Dream of nothing. Let the darkness hold you gently. Tomorrow will come with its demands. But tonight belongs to rest. Tonight, you are safe. Tonight, you are home. Tonight, you can simply be. And that's everything. Sweet dreams.